Talking with the experts.
Learn how to craft your own comeback story with Holly Bertone in our latest podcast episode and turn your lowest points into powerful rebirths in episode 533.
Oh my goodness. I like to call this base camp cycle. And I don't know, like any of your listeners used to like watch movies from the 80s and they always had this like comeback montage. Jennifer Beals is pulling up the leg warmers and Flashdance and Karate Kids painting the fence. And, we think that this, we get excited to do the thing and it's going to be in 3 minutes and we get from A to B. And especially now in this like social media society, it's like, oh, everything is instant. Well, I like to call this base camp cycle because we get excited to do the thing. And, and especially like my focus is health, but it also relates to life and career and, relationships and everything like that. And you get excited to do the thing. So maybe that's getting healthier or, losing weight or exercising more. And you get that like adrenaline in your gut. You're like, I'm going to do this. And what happens is that excitement lasts for 2 weeks. So you are climbing Mount Everest and you are super excited. You're like, woohoo, I'm going to do this.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, where we believe that success is a journey, and every journey is easier with help from friends. That's why we bring you top-notch experts and real business heroes eager to share their lessons from the road to success. We delve into new topics each week: effective marketing strategies, innovative problem solving, financial planning, and team building. We tackle everything you need to know to grow your business and keep it thriving. Whether you dream about launching your first startup or a business veteran looking to shake things up, we've got you covered. With each episode, you'll gain knowledge, boost your confidence, and be inspired to take action. So, grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and join our exciting journey. You're not alone in this. We're here, guiding you, cheering for you, and celebrating each milestone. Let's turn your business dreams into reality, starting today. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Holly Bertone, and we're going to discuss how you can reinvent yourself and create your comeback story. Now, Holly is a midlife comeback coach. She's a motivational speaker and a #1 Amazon bestselling author and host of Your Comeback Story podcast. Holly has spent 20 years in consulting and federal government service, primarily at the FBI, where she was a chief of staff. After struggling with breast cancer, autoimmune disease, and debilitating chronic fatigue, she created a unique methodology to heal herself. I'll be interested to hear a little bit about that. Holly combines the principles of performance and mindset to coach successful women who are stressed out and burnt out to unleash their comeback story so they can ditch exhaustion and achieve optimal health and performance. Wow. Very interesting background, Holly. Welcome to Talking with the Experts. I look forward to hearing more about your journey.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Rose, for having me on the show. And I really look forward to connecting with you and your listeners.
Wonderful to hear. Tell me a little bit about how you have arrived at, you've got such great credentials and everything, but, how did you arrive at this point in your life?
Oh my goodness. I'm actually going to go back to about when I was 10 years old, and I'm not going to stay here long, but trust me, the through line is going to make sense here in about 60 seconds. When I was a little girl, one of my favorite things to do was we had these huge dining room table, and I would take 3 different jigsaw puzzles, and they would be, 500, 1,000 pieces, dump them out on the table, mix them up, and then put them back together. Like, I was a really nerdy kid. And one thing that has stayed with me is that I love to see patterns. I love to take things that just look kind of messy or are a bit disparate and then put them back together. And that's what I did at the FBI. I was brought in after 9/11, and after the 9/11 Commission report and the WMD Commission report, the internet was still pretty new, and which I can't believe, like, it feels like it's like yesterday. I feel like the internet's been here forever. But yeah, the internet was new. Systems, yeah, systems were new. And, and the FBI was on record for just not talking to other agencies, but not talking in and of themselves. So, I was a project manager. I wasn't an agent. And basically that was the through line of what I did during my career at the FBI was look at all these different pieces and help to put them together to be more cohesive. So I did a lot of that with the project management and then also data analytics. And what happened to get me to this place as a holistic health coach, and you read it in my bio, but I went through breast cancer. I had surgery, chemo, radiation. I was diagnosed at the age of 39, which I thought, oh, only old women get breast cancer. And, because I race mountain bikes, I must be healthy, and realized that's a whole different conversation. But I went through breast cancer, but then I never got healthy. I just kept getting sicker and sicker, and autoimmune disease and debilitating chronic fatigue, to the point where I was basically bedridden. And I ended up being forced to resign. I mean, this was my dream job since I was probably 17 years old. And I was forced to resign. And that just flattened me, because I was so connected to that identity of working for the FBI, of being a chief of staff. I mean, it was a pretty incredible position to have. And, and just the prestige to work for such an amazing organization. And all of that was gone. I was married at the time. I'm no longer, but I had a young stepson. So it wasn't just that my career identity was completely obliterated. I was struggling to even take care of myself. Like I could barely take care of my husband or my stepson. And in 2018, I'm like, you know what? This is not okay. Like, I don't know how I'm going to fix the situation, but this is not okay. And from that point, I went down this path of figuring out how to heal myself, and realized that the traditional methods, nutrition, exercise, things like that, work to a degree, but there's a lot of other complexities that come into play. And I ended up becoming a holistic health coach, and then decided, you know what, I really like my focus on the preventative side, because I think, and I know your audience is, men and women, but I can only speak for kind of me and, the women that I work with. And really just, we go and we go and we go, and we do everything for everyone else, and we forget about ourselves. And I really want to be that pattern interrupt, and to step in and say, hey, this is what's going on behind the scenes that you probably aren't even noticing. And this is some ways to make some changes to, improve your health, improve your life. And a lot of it does come down to the stress and the burnout and the weight gain and not sleeping at night and all of the things, and really creating a lifestyle that is optimized for peak performance and peak metabolic health, so that you can be your best with your career, with your family, with your loved ones. And yeah, that's why I love doing what I do.
An incredible journey. It's your health journey has been absolutely a very long process. And, obviously, you've come back to the peak of health, and well done to you for realizing, earlier on that you needed to do something that would bring you to this successful outcome. Holly, I'd like to ask you, people often hit rock bottom. There's either some trauma that they've had to deal with, or there's, something in their life has brought them to a point where, they just feel like they can't go on anymore. But why is it that some people suffer more than other people? Is it genetic makeup, or is it just mindset, or what is it?
Oh my goodness. I think there's a lot of different factors. And I want to get into one in a second, but really what I want to focus on is our upbringing. And we're going to start there, because so often we have this lens of these kind of voices and programming that we don't even know is there. And, things like, and again, I can only kind of, speak for the women that I work with, but we hear so often, brought up like, oh, well, you were the pretty one, or you were the smart one, or unfortunately, sometimes you were the good for nothing one. And, we hear these stories as kids, and they're now ingrained in us. And then we're told, okay, well, seek the career, seek the, the successful career, seek the partner, seek the kids, seek the house. Like, we're chasing after all of these things. And we spend our 20s and early 30s chasing the things because we're told that's what's going to make us happy. So we're chasing the things, and we're chasing them from this lens of, kind of all of these stories of this is where our validation comes from. So we get the things, we get some, most, or all of them. And then at some point we wake up and we're like, I'm not really happy. Maybe my career, I have a great career. I can't tell you how many women I work with say, I make great money, I have a great career, great benefits, great 401k in the US 401k plan, but I'm not fulfilled. Or, I've got this great husband of X number of years in this great marriage, but and my kids are starting to, getting older, and they don't need me as much. And now I'm also taking care of my aging parents. And all of a sudden it's like all these things no longer give us happiness. And when we look to the things for that fulfillment and they're not giving us that fulfillment, we're now suffering. And we're like, what just happened? Why am I not happy? And we don't realize what got us here. So I think part of it, and I talk about the comeback story. The comeback is not about some big event or adversity. It's the daily stress that we have every single day, every single month, every single year that accumulates. And it causes us to live in burnout, to disconnect from ourselves, and it affects our health. And, and that's really where I think, from the, you asked, like, what's the difference between the person that suffers versus the one that doesn't? I think when we go along this path and we're just completely oblivious to what we want, we don't even get the breadcrumbs. We're so focused on doing the thing for everyone else, versus the ones who are like, okay, I'm in this situation. I may not be happy, but what can I do about it? I can't tell you how many times I hear women they dig in their heels and they try to convince me. They are like in court and they are arguing their defense, and they try to convince me that their situation, they can't change anything. I'm like, there's always something you can do. There's a cost of inaction. That is a decision, is a cost of inaction, or there's something that you can do, and you may not like those choices. And then that's why they argue for those limitations, because change is hard. Our brain is hardwired to keep us safe. It's hardwired for homeostasis. Even if we know on the other side of that change, good things are going to happen. But there's this difficult, messy middle to get there. And that's where I come in, because I love being in the messy middle. Give me the mess. Give me the mess, because we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. I've just realized, I've been married for 33 years, and I've just realized that a lot of the things that I've been putting up through my marriage has been abuse, emotional and psychological abuse. And I only just realized that, and I couldn't understand why I was always sick. As you say, people that are, stressed or whatever are always unwell. And I couldn't figure out why I was always unwell. And over these last months, I've just realized that is why, because I'm not happy. And I've been living in this world that I thought was, I just accepted it up until recently. And I just thought it was the status quo. But it, in fact, it wasn't. And I'm starting to feel now that, yes, there is a way to move forward. And I'm, starting to realize that I am worthy of much more than I've allowed myself to accept. And so I actually get what you were saying about, you need to take that time for self-reflection and self-care to realize that what you've accepted for, 6 months or even longer is not, is not your life.
Right.
You shouldn't accept things that make you unhappy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Rose, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
That's all right. I've come to realize that, that these things, need to be discussed. And, and what you're saying is about reinventing yourself and how you can create your comeback story is it's touching for me, because I've got lived experience of that. And,
Yeah.
and hearing you discuss, your strategies and things for that has made me realize that, yes, there is a way.
Yeah. And I love how open you are, because this helps other women give the permission slip. Because I think so often we wait for permission, and it's crazy, because with certain parts of our lives, we just know instinctively what to do. Like we just go in and we do it and we take the action. And then there's another part of our lives where we wait for permission, and we're always waiting for permission. The permission slip's never going to come. And I love how you share that, because you sharing that and bringing me on and sharing what I'm sharing, like this helps people get their permission slip to say,
Absolutely.
it's okay to make a change. It's okay to stand up for myself.
Oh, absolutely. Because as women, we're taught not to stand up, as you say, accept what is, and don't try and buck the system, so they say. But we are allowed to do that. We are allowed to change what is happening in our life. But so I really related to what you had to say previously. I'd like to ask you about what is one of the most common traps that we should be avoiding when we are creating our comeback story?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I like to call this base camp cycle. And I don't know, like any of your listeners used to like watch movies from the 80s, and they always had this like comeback montage. Jennifer Beals is pulling up the leg warmers and Flashdance, and Karate Kids painting the fence. And, we think that this, we get excited to do the thing, and it's going to be in 3 minutes and we get from A to B. And especially now in this like social media society, it's like, oh, everything is instant. Well, I like to call this base camp cycle, because we get excited to do the thing. And, and especially like my focus is health, but it also relates to life and career and, relationships and everything like that. And you get excited to do the thing. So maybe that's getting healthier, or, losing weight or exercising more. And you get that like adrenaline in your gut. You're like, I'm going to do this. And what happens is that excitement lasts for 2 weeks. So you are climbing Mount Everest and you are super excited. You're like, woohoo, I'm going to do this. And then what happens is that the thing gets hard, and then you get discouraged, and you're now relying on willpower. Willpower is going to last you for 1 more week. By the way, the statistics is 92% of all New Year's resolutions fail in the first month. This is why. And so we're now relying on willpower. And then another obstacle comes along, and you're like, you know what? It's just easier to start again on Monday. Well, then Monday never happens. So we're now at base camp instead of climbing the mountain. And that's why, that's why when we go to do the thing, and the thing is like, and so often what I see with health, right? We're very successful in our careers. We've got a, successful family, or successful on our own. But when it comes to our health, we're like, why isn't this working? And that's why the yo-yo diet is such a legitimate thing, is because we're staying on this cycle.
Should we be doing instead? What can we do to get from base camp to the apex?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love this. I created a framework that is inspired by my favorite comeback movie of all time, which is Rocky, the original one, circa 1976. And but it's ROCKY, and we can just kind of go through these pretty quick. And R is rear view mirror. Now, here's where my methodology differs from a lot of other individuals in the health and wellness industry, because so many people have these protocols, and it starts with the doing. I like to start with the you-ing. So we don't do first, we you first. We go inside first. We actually go backwards. So that's R is rear view mirror. And that's making peace and forgiveness with the situation, with the other person. And more importantly, making peace and forgiveness with yourself. And Albert Einstein said that everything is created twice. And it's first created in our minds, and then it manifests physically. So if we're trying to create this comeback, but we're still in that place of the raw emotions and, the all these stories in our heads and the anger and the fear and the resentment and, all of this. Well, our future becomes what we feed it. And if we're feeding our future from this disempowering state, well, guess what it's going to look like? So that's why I like to go backwards before we go forwards. So once we've got peace and forgiveness, the second step is O. And I like to call this own your ship with a P, like a boat. And this is personal responsibility. And responsibility is not a popular word these days. And, back to when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, my doctor told me, she said, lightning struck. I'm like, why? How? I'm 39 years old. How did this even happen? She said, lightning struck. And that took responsibility away from me. I needed that peace at one of the lowest moments of my life, but it took responsibility away from me. I just blamed it on this random act. So it took years for me to look at things like, okay, Holly, maybe eating, an entire sleeve of Thin Mints at one time and drinking 6 cans of Coca-Cola a day and living this overachieving adrenaline junkie kind of lifestyle might not be so good for my health. And it's not blame or shame. We've already made peace with the past. So it's not blame or shame. It's what can I do from this point on? How can I take responsibility for my health from this point on? And that's what responsibility is about. And O, own your ship with a P like a boat. C is create your future self. This is when we go and we create our future, right, from that place of our future self. We don't create it from today. So that requires, changing things like, okay, maybe instead of focusing on my goal, like, do I want to just have more energy, or do I want to do the things that I love doing? Do I want to be able to come home at the end of the day and have abundant energy to spend time with my family? Is it just I want to lose 20 or 30 pounds, or do I want to have a lifestyle where I'm eating healthy, nutritious food that gives me optimal performance? There's a difference, right? We're coming into summer. Well, summer in the US, winter for you guys. But, like the summer bod, is it about the summer bod, or is it, I want to be 80 years old and I want to be agile. I don't want to be fragile, right? So that's the difference. And it's being able to look at those goals from that place. So ROC, and then K is keep the vision, not the view. And that is being able to set up these systems and processes so that when the obstacles happen, you stay the course. Or if you get off track, it's easy to come back around. Remember, we talked about the willpower at week 3. Like, those obstacles are always going to happen. So it's not about just not having stress in your life. It's having the agility to coexist with it so that it doesn't impact you. Like every single day, we're going to have an obstacle that gets thrown in our path. So what are we going to do about it? Right. So we've got R is rear view mirror. O is own your ship with the P like a boat. C is create your future self. K is keep the vision, not the view. And then Y is come back home to you. So this is when you come out of your very own 80s movie montage and you're confident, you're determined, you've got a whole different vibe, and you have the healthy habits and the lifestyle. It's not something like, oh my goodness, I have to diet. I hate this. I'm hungry. I'm starving. The scale hasn't budged. It's not that. It's realizing I've created these healthy, sustainable habits that are a part of me. They're fun. I look forward to them. If you look forward to something, you're going to make sure it happens, right? If you're like, I hate eating rabbit food, I hate eating the salad, or I hate going to the gym, guess what? It's going to be a lot harder to make it happen. So coming back home to you is these are now a part of you, right? It's about the you-ing, realizing you have this superpower inside of you. And the other nice part about this is that, especially in the health and wellness space, there are so many different voices, so many different protocols, so much information. It's like, who do I even know to listen to? You listen to yourself. That's what it's about. You know how to take the information and figure out, how does this impact me, right? Back to the puzzle pieces. We're taking all of this information and we're putting it together. And we're like, how am I supposed to use this? Like, is this new, protocol going to work for me? Yes or no? Should I be lifting more weight? Should I be eating more protein? All of these things. We now know how to do this because we've been able to quiet our minds. We've quieted all of the outside noises, and we've been able to come back home to ourselves. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Sounds brilliant. Love it. Rocky. I have to remember that. It's something really great to live by and to strive for, I think. Is if you can use those acronyms and they have meaning for you, you're more likely to follow the steps rather than something that lacks meaning, and you're going to give up. As you say, when it gets a little bit hard, there's some obstacle in the way, and you think, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it anymore. Or Monday never comes, which is
right.
Most of us.
What is it? Never airy. The month of never airy.
Holly, where can people find you? And I know that you've got something in Kajabi that you'd like to share with our audience today.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much. And if you're listening and you enjoyed the Rocky framework, I actually have a free private podcast training series, and it's called Your Comeback Experience. So we go do a deep dive into the entire Rocky framework. And at the end, you can actually have your very own health assessment, and you actually get results from it that's personalized by me, which is super exciting. So so you can go to podcastholly.com. I made it super easy to remember, like, what's that podcast Holly was talking about is exactly that, podcastholly.com. So again, it's a free private podcast training series based on the Rocky framework. And then I like to play on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn a little bit, but mostly I play on Instagram, and that's just my name at Holly.Bertone. So come say hi over there too.
Wonderful. Holly, it's been an absolute pleasure. I would love you to share with our audience some tip or some words of wisdom that will help them make their day better.
I love that. What's coming up for me is, what are you telling yourself? And especially if you're justifying something, what's on the other end of that? If you're justifying something to someone else or to yourself, what's on the other side of that? And really dive deep into that today. And I will leave you with this, is that I believe in you. It's time for you to believe in yourself.
Holly, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure meeting you and discussing this topic with you. It's been very, it's really touched me. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Rose.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.